Do you have a concealed weapons permit?
I don't need a concealed weapons permit to open carry while fishing, hunting, and camping.
Yeah, but you're not hunting.
I was on my going to and from such.
Your reel and everything is bone dry.
It's
so
not
I don't,
bone dry.
Don't believe you were fishing.
Yeah, you can feel it. It's not bone dry, but
it's bone dry.
It's not bone dry.
Well, I don't believe you're fishing because your lure
You
asked me a question. I got to answer you. Stop. You say you're fishing. The lure is bone dry. The line is bone dry. The reel's bone dry. So how are we fishing if it's bone dry?
If you can tell me what crime I have committed.
Everything's dry, so you're committing a crime of open carry.
All right, I just watched the armed fisherman's video where the cop comes up to him and says, your pole is dry, you weren't fishing, therefore you're guilty of the crime of open carrying in the state of Florida.
We got a call that said you were standing over on the bridge, just standing there.
On the bridge, I was fishing. My fishing pole was in the water fishing. Yes, sir.
Don't feel wet.
It was wet.
Feels bone dry. Do you have your ID on you?
I don't.
Your reel and everything is bone dry.
It's not bone dry.
Don't believe you were fishing.
Yeah, you can feel it. It's not bone dry, but
it's bone dry.
It's not bone dry.
Okay, what's your name?
Anyway, my name is Mike.
You say you're fishing. The lure is bone dry. The line is bone dry. The reel's bone dry. So how are we fishing if it's bone dry?
I'm being dead honest with you. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
What's your last name?
Once again,
what's your last name?
If you can tell me what crime I have committed, I will gladly give you all the information.
Well, right now, everything's dry, so you're committing a crime of open carry.
Now everybody knows there's that statute because the armed fisherman has made us all aware of it, that you can open carry in the state of Florida as long as you're coming from or going to a fishing spot, camping spot, or hunting spot, or target practice from what I read online. And it's interesting to me that the badged authoritarian psychopath walks up to the armed fisherman knowing who he is, having admitted to watching the videos. Now, he doesn't admit to this till about, 6 to 8 minutes into the interaction.
I've done this 40
plus
times.
I know. I've seen your videos.
Okay, so you know about me, and I'm not doing anything. I would never do anything unlawful.
But this cop is coming up to Mike as though Mike did something wrong and is trying to make Mike insecure in his person by telling him to give me your ID, give me your name, give me your middle name, give me your last name, show me your ID. On what basis? What crime has been committed? And the cop contends the crime is you open carrying. Your line is bone dry. That's irrelevant. And Mike doesn't owe, or you or I, if we were in Florida and we had a fishing pole and we were fishing, the burden of proof is on the person who comes to you with the accusation. The accusation is you weren't fishing, therefore you don't fall in these guidelines. Therefore, according to my law, which by the way is repugnant to the Constitution, according to my law, you were breaking the Florida statute. You're not really fishing. Well, there's the accusation you weren't really fishing. And the cop is trying to tell Mike, hey, you need to prove to me that you were fishing. No, that's not how it works, Ossifer. You got to prove that he wasn't. The burden of proof is on the guy who brings the accusation. You can't prove a negative. What do you want to do? Follow me to my fishing hole and all the people who may still be hanging around, get them to testify? Yeah, this guy did drop his line into the water. Who cares? You know, aside from all this, don't we have a constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms? It doesn't say how you can bear them. Oh, just make sure if you bear them, they're concealed so the public doesn't freak out. Or make sure it's not open carry because you're going to violate Florida state statute unless you're going hunting, fishing, or target practicing. I tell you, man, this video ran all over me. But the worst part to me about the whole video is not only did the cop call Mike rude.
No.
Because that's the call we got that said, hold on.
I'm sorry.
You're really rude, you know that?
Well, right now you're
extremely rude.
Okay.
Because you ask questions and you don't even close your mouth to hear the answer.
Heard that. I'm sorry.
The cop who's detaining a free man who wants to exercise his rights on American soil, who's being detained against his will, he's being rude, but the cop who's doing the detaining is not the rude one? You've got to be kidding me. But the coup de grace, the icing on the cake for me, was near the end of the video where the cop says, you mind if I walk you to your car because I don't want to receive any more calls. Hey, guess what, officer? You know what you should have done when you got that first call is you should have educated the 911 operator, the non-emergency number, or whoever got the call, and tell them, hey, yeah, that's Mike. I've seen his videos. He means no, he's not committing a crime. He means no harm. He's got a YouTube channel called The Armed Fisherman, and he's perfectly within his rights according to California state statute or whatever. He can be doing that. Don't worry. We know who he is. And even if the cop said, you know what, I'll just go ahead and check on this thing. I know what's going on. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to be cool to Mike. That would have been fine. That's reasonable. Because, getting a call with, there's a guy walking around with an AR-15. Well, people are already sensitized to AR-15's bad. People carrying AR-15s are psychos and they mean to do everybody harm. So I get a cop walking up. But if he already knew in his mind who Mike was, what Mike's about, what his YouTube channel is supposed to be promoting, fear's allayed. There's no fear in there. You know who the guy is. You know what he's about. He's got hundreds of YouTube videos out there doing this very thing. And if you walk up to him, you're going to be looking pretty bad. Well, guess what, officer? If you're watching this, you should feel really bad for yourself. Number one, because you took a freaking oath to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Part of that in the Constitution is the Bill of Rights. Part of the Bill of Rights is the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And you came up to Mike specifically intending to infringe on his Fourth Amendment and Second Amendment rights, and really, as far as I'm concerned, his First Amendment right to freedom of speech by detaining him. You don't detain somebody who's exercising their freaking rights. Not only did they not do anything wrong, they're trying to sensitize their fellow Americans into doing right, into exercising their rights. But here's the icing on the cake for me. After this whole interaction, he said, hey, can I walk you to your car? And Mike's like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And now the cop starts playing nicey-nicey. What kind of fish are you going to catch? Oh, yeah, how long does it have to be? What does it look like? Oh, I couldn't tell you if it was, if that was the fish. All I know is it's got fins and flippers. Ha, 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 ha. And now he's trying to pretend like he's Mike's friend.
What were you trying to catch?
If you look down here by the bridge, there's about 5,000, well, not 5, probably about a couple hundred mullet.
Is snook season on right now?
Yes, sir.
When does it end?
What's today? I want to say September 1st or 31st, one of the two.
It ends in September?
Yes, sir. Well, it just closes until all the way till December, January, or February, something like that. I'm not 100% on all.
What's the length on the fish?
28 to 32.
Okay.
You ever caught any?
No, I don't even know what a snook
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
You can show me a snook right now and I'll say it's a fish with flippers and gills.
Yeah, well,
This guy is an enemy of the people, period. This guy if he doesn't care about your rights, he doesn't care about your life. He came up with the implied threat of force, with state power, drunk on his own authority, coming up trying to make Mike insecure in his person and violate his rights as he's walking in his rights. You can't get more downright evil than that. So that's my take on this. And as far as the way Mike reacted, Mike, I love you, but I completely disagree with the way you went at it. You should have pled the fifth and said, hey, I have committed no crime. If you say I've committed a crime, give me at least reasonable articulable suspicion. Because everything that you see shows that I'm following Florida state statute. I'm going to or from my fishing hole, and I have the right, even under Florida state law, to do this. And not only that, bring your supervisor out here. If you're going to arrest me, go ahead. You got or play the Jeff Gray thing. Hey, officer, the way I see it, you got one of two choices. You're out here, you're going to violate my rights, or you're going to uphold my rights. Now, which one is it? Because right now, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to be silent. I don't owe you anything. I'm not going to give you an explanation. Done. And then stop talking. And let the chips fall where they may. Now, I understand I'm keyboard worrying it here. I'm armchair quarterbacking, and it's easy for me to say because I wasn't out there in this tenuous, stressful situation where you got a authoritarian psychopath drunk on his own power. I get it. We still have some semblance of rights. So leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. I love the Armed Fisherman. I will leave the link to Armed Fisherman's video. You let Mike know what you think about this. And Mike, if you're watching this video, give us the name of this cop in the department he works for, because as far as I'm concerned, this guy needs global shame for doing something that is condoned in the Second Amendment and in the Fourth Amendment, and while you're exercising your First Amendment rights. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to Mike's channel, The Armed Fisherman. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell notification icon. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you haven't done so already, grab a hard-hitting conversation starting shirt like this right here. Become a channel member, but more importantly, exercise your rights. If you don't exercise your rights, your right muscles atrophy and you will lose your rights. Freedom is dangerous. It always has been. It always will be. The only thing more dangerous is not having rights. I'll see you in the next video.